Greetings, everyone. It's Mark and Ann. And yes, Ann's finally back. I'm so glad that she is
Yay!
on the show again. Had some technical issues
Yes,
yesterday, but that happens, don't it, Ann?
it does. I'm so glad to be back.
I'm glad you're back. And we have a returning guest. Who do we have tonight?
I know I'm excited. I was not on the first time. We have Jennifer Lunsford. Jennifer
Mhm.
is a Georgia licensed life and health insurance broker. She's licensed for Medicare, which is different. Everybody that does health and life insurance does not do Medicare. So everybody needs
Mhm.
to realize that. But she does Medicare insurance and she works with all the Medicare beneficiaries. Jennifer is a member and very active with Peachtree City Rotary Club that I think you share with her,
We
Mark,
are
as
Rotarians.
well.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
And she works, well, I'm sorry, she's also a member with the Business Women's Women of Fayette County, American Business Women's Association in Peachtree City, and some other local organizations. Here are the two important facts to know about Jennifer.
Okay.
And that
I
is
know what
that
it's going
she
to be.
has a dog named Dixie Lynn, which I
Uh,
just love that. She's got Dixie Lynn because she is also, like myself, a Georgia Bulldog. And those are the important facts to know.
it depends on who's hearing that, though, right? If
So,
you got some
no, it does
Bama fans
not.
listen, you're going
No, it
to
does not
have.
matter at all.
All right. Well, Jennifer is one of my favorite peeps. So let's count this down, get her in there. A lot to share, a lot of good information and important
Yes.
information to share. So let's kick this show off, get Jennifer in here, and let's do it.
All right.
Welcome back, Jennifer.
Hey, hey,
Hi.
how are
So,
you?
so I think
Good,
I think
good.
I think Ann understated the Georgia Bulldog fan, huh?
Oh, I heard what you said. It does matter, Mark. It does matter.
Well, very
No,
good.
it's
Well, I
all
tell
good.
you
It's
what,
all good. It's
let's
all
let's
good.
give a little bit of a brief reminder, and then we'll have Ann have some questions. So just
Absolutely.
go over again. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So, I in my intro, and thank you for that great biography that was, or the little bio that you did. That was good. You kind of hit on some of the top stuff that I do here locally in the community. But I am a native Georgian, so that is very unique to me. I've learned the longer I live in Georgia, the more my peeps leave and other people come in. So I am native. I grew up in Henry County, so not too far away from Fayette. And I started this journey in the Medicare insurance niche, if you will, over a year ago. So I've been doing this about 18 months now. And I got to tell you guys, Mark, even from the last time I was with you, boy, have I dug in and learned a whole lot more because it's
Really?
it's
Okay.
so well, it's so deep. It's like an onion, right? You got to peel the layers back and peel and peel and peel and peel. And you think you get to the center and you just keep peeling. There's no center in the Medicare niche. There's not.
Well,
And
when you get there, they're going to change it. So,
and that's exactly. So now I've got a new onion
yeah,
to peel.
yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's been really great this year working with new clients and having repeat clients come in, and we're talking about all the things that I think we're going to talk a little bit about tonight.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm from here. You did a great job with the bio, and I've been in Medicare for about 18 months. I still love it. I still love it. As complicated as it is, I love working
Yeah.
with the beneficiaries, and I think that's why I'm still here in it. If you know what I'm
Well,
saying.
it's been so good having you because, like I said, I throw as many people your way as possible, and
Thank you.
you always take care of them. Hello,
Well, thank
Kim. Everybody say hey to Kim. So
Hi,
um
Kim.
so let's get this going.
Yes. Let's. Ooh, and yes, enrollment.
Yeah. So tell us the dates of the enrollment period because everybody somehow, even though it's the same time that it comes
Yeah.
up, people forget.
You know what? This is what I've learned about insurance enrollment, because all three of us at some point in time in our lives have always had to enroll into the next year,
Yes.
even though it's always the same time every year. Once we're done with it, we forget about it. And
Mhm.
I find this exact same thing happens with our Medicare beneficiaries as well. We just forget about it. But it's here. It starts October 15th, which is next Tuesday, and it will go through December 7th. So give or take almost 7 to 8-ish weeks total to make all the changes that they need to make or want to make. And it's kind of in a short amount of time, because I think we all know time flies.
So
So,
anybody that's already covered needs to revisit and sit
so
down and if they've moved, especially, right, even to another zip code.
oh, well, now if they've moved to another zip code, hopefully they kind of address that quickly. They
Okay.
have a window. Actually, all beneficiaries have a window if they move. So what is different about the annual enrollment period with Medicare beneficiaries is this is their time to, like you said, sit down with someone and review their plans for 2025. So their
Mm.
plans in 2024 may stay the same, but more than likely they will not be staying the same. And I think I'll hit on that in a second. But this is their time to not only change their plans for their Medicare Advantage plans, they can also choose to leave a Medicare Advantage plan and go back to original Medicare, which is just having Parts A and Parts B. They can do that. They can also take this opportunity to investigate and look at maybe a supplemental plan. However, I do have to address that. If they've been in Medicare Advantage for more than a year, they might have to go through underwriting with the carrier that they want to enroll into a supplemental plan. So that's important. That has to get started. That needs to be done. Otherwise, if they've been in Medicare Advantage for just under a year, they only did it in 2024, this is an opportunity for them to go to a supplemental plan and take a look at that. And then they may or may not have to go through underwriting. So there's some rules there. There's a lot of, like I said, peel those layers back.
Yeah.
But this is that time. And also this is when it's really critical and important that if a Medicare Advantage beneficiary has a plan for 2024 that is not going to be renewed by the carrier, which I already have 3 clients that have contacted me and said, hey, my plan's not renewing. They have to choose something else or they will not have a Medicare Advantage plan.
Lord.
I know. They will go now, they will have Medicare, they'll have original
Yeah.
Medicare, but that's why it's so important for them to sit down with a broker, look at their plan, what is changing, is it going to not be renewed? And then, hey, I don't like my plan. I didn't like my coverage. Okay, well, let's take a look at that. The other thing I like to do is there's 2 questions I want to ask them. Has anything in your health changed this year?
Mm.
Because we all know the older we get, things can change very quickly and drastically. And that can be addressed differently with a different kind of plan. I know I've talked to, and I think on our last podcast, Mark, we talked about chronic care plans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if someone has been diagnosed with diabetes or has had a cardiovascular episode this year, maybe now they have congestive heart failure, they now can qualify for one of those chronic plans. That's something they want to look at because that plan has different benefits for that kind of care. The other question I do like to ask them, and they really do need to consider every year, is has their budget changed?
Mm.
As we get older, things change. I know a lot of our beneficiaries are on they're receiving Social Security, of course, and maybe they've got some retirement that they're receiving and some other
Mhm.
benefits. However, things can change also. What if there's been a life-changing difference in their budget? That's something that they need to
Mhm.
look at as well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
premiums change, deductibles change, maximum out of pocket changes. They have to take all of that in. So yeah, it's so important. The plans change and our lives change. And those are the
Yeah.
2 things that they
Yeah.
need to put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sherry Ray from Pruitt says hello.
Hi.
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 Let's see.
I love the live chats.
So I know that we're talking about the changes coming up in 2025, and I will tell you, I'm proud to say I am on Medicare.
Yay! Get that
I'm going to tell
milestone.
you now. I'm going to tell you this too, and I know we're going to talk about the changes coming up in 2025. I am coming off the industry, and I know this is funny. The first time I ever spoke to Jennifer, and I kept saying managed care,
Yeah.
and she said, that's an old term. No, ma'am, not in the nursing home industry. It is not.
Right. It's an older term. Yeah, it's not
because,
one we use
for
often.
us,
Yeah.
well, for us in that industry, though, we have to turn in updates every week. If you've got somebody under an Advantage plan, and then I will tell you, and I'm sorry to any Advantage people that you represent, but I will tell you, in our world, we will tell you Medicare Advantage doesn't have a lot of advantages, not in a nursing home.
Right.
It's just different.
Understand.
I mean,
Yeah,
in a
it's
nursing home
different.
side of things, it is not. And we are going to do, our term is we're going to flip you to traditional Medicare as soon as we can, because your benefits run better in a nursing home.
Yeah.
If you are coming into nursing home for rehab and all of those things.
Okay, but what if you're not? What if it's not nursing home?
Yeah, well, but that is different. That's different in the community,
I'm just
when
going to say, how is it in the world is anybody, just normal average citizen, supposed to keep up with all this without
hard.
someone like yourself, Jennifer?
you
I mean,
don't.
Yeah, thank you.
You have Jennifer.
I mean,
Well,
seriously, it's a lot.
I do
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing though, like what you're saying is to try to switch someone out. Like I said a second ago, sometimes if someone's been on Medicare Advantage for more than 1 year, trying to switch into a supplemental plan, they have to go under underwriting. Or I
Yeah.
shouldn't say have to.
No, we're not.
So
Yeah, we're not
it's
changing.
dicey.
Typically, nursing homes are not going to flip somebody over
right.
that's not going to be there for a while. If somebody comes into us and they're going to be there 30 to 60 days, we may or may not. But
Yeah.
I have seen in nursing home, because I've been doing it forever, feels like. But on our side of the table, we see so many times. I just went through this with a close friend who had an Advantage plan, had a stroke, a bad stroke, ended up trying to find a nursing home. The particular company that she was with, I don't know of a nursing home that takes them, even as a Medicare Advantage plan, because there are some that will take a Medicare Advantage plan. 90% of the nursing homes don't even take them. So they don't, even for their short-term rehab, they don't take them. So then the family's out of pocket, or you go into, do they have out-of-network benefits? And looking into that side of it. So she did not. She had out-of-network benefits, and we ended up trying to work her in that way. But it was just not a good scenario. And we did have to work. Well, I didn't, but the nursing home she went to, they had to have to work some magic and do some things around. But again, I'm speaking from the nursing home world of that, because I know plenty of people, retired teachers, they are on some really good plans.
They have a retiree group. Yeah. It's totally different for them.
And so and the people I know in the community with that, very happy, and really like those. So anyway, back to the original thing. So
what are the
because I'm
main
curious,
changes?
what are some changes coming up?
So the major changes are actually going to affect everyone, whether you have Medicare Advantage plans or Medicare Supplement, Medigap with a prescription drug plan. So Part D. The major changes that we are seeing are in the prescription plan Part D. So if someone is enrolled into Medicare and they have a prescription plan Part D, they are going to see major changes. So I say that because a lot of times the supplemental Medigap Part Plus Part D beneficiary doesn't always have to sit down and have a review. It's important to do it, but it's not quote unquote as necessary, because usually their plans might have some changes and they just roll over to the next year with no questions. They're good. Yeah. However, this year it's very different. Prescription plans are being affected by the Inflation Reduction Act that was signed in I think it was last year in 2023. It goes into effect in 2025. The very first change that they've made is in the prescription drug plan. And that is, now here's something I think is kind of good. Now, I'm not a beneficiary in the Medicare world, but however, I have parents who are, and I've seen their sicknesses and their illnesses and their prescriptions and all the things. So I get where this is kind of good news. They are capping prescription plans at $2,000. So any Medicare beneficiary, you will not pay more than $2,000 in your medications. However, the change with that is some prescription plans might, and again, I have to disclaimer it all because everyone is all the plans are so different, all the carriers are different. Some of them might see increases in their premiums. Some of them might see increases in their deductibles. Some of them might see increases with their medications. Some might not. Some plans may stay the same. So that's why that's going to be so critical for anyone to review their plans. You want to know whether or not your premiums are going up, if your deductibles, what has changed. The other thing is the Inflation Reduction Act is their first 10 drugs or medications that they have been able to reclassify, retier, change some of the cost to the Medicare beneficiary. That's going to happen in 2025 as well.
Okay.
So that could affect a lot of beneficiaries as well. And so what I will be doing, and what I suggest all beneficiaries do with a Part D plan, they need to sit down and, like I said, look at the premiums, look at the deductibles, then have someone plug in the prescriptions and see if any of their prescriptions are a part of that 10 first, because it's going to happen over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So that first 10, see if it's changed. See if any of their medication have changed, because the tiers are the formulary. The tiers are changing a little bit. So this is going to affect Part D plans.
Okay.
For
so when you
everyone.
say plug in their meds, are you referring to going on to Medicare.gov where you can do that under Part D and just plug in your, because I know
They can do that. What is where someone like myself who's got, what we can do is to actually, when we plug in their prescriptions, they can do it in Medicare.gov.
But you can do that for them.
I can do it for them, but what I can also do is I'm going to be able to pull up their carrier, or multiple carriers, because not all the carriers are the same either with the plan. So what I'm able to do is plug it in, and we can see their estimated annual cost.
Okay. Well, even better. That's why, because some people are still a little intimidated getting on the computer, and then you start entering the medications and they're just not sure, they don't understand everything about it. So I wanted to make sure.
And I'm fortunate I can do that.
great.
Yep, I can do it. I can actually, like I said, I can also go into their carrier. And now for current clients that are actually, work with me, I have the accessibility to actually go into their plan, like their current plan from 2024 and look at the new 2025. So that's a beautiful thing too, when you're working with someone you've worked with.
And
we have
when
that.
you're referring to changes coming up, and I know you're talking about Part D plans, but is it going to affect the traditional and the Advantage plans? Everything's going to see these changes? More Advantage or more traditional is going to see it? Or
so the traditional supplemental Medigap plans, that plan does not have the Part D, right? So that plan's totally different. But if they have their Part D plan, which I hope they do, because there's a penalty if you don't, that's the plan they need to have reviewed.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, Medicare Advantage, there's a higher percentage of beneficiaries who have a Medicare Advantage with the plan, with the prescription Part D.
In it.
So it's bundled in. I call it like the bundling effect. It's bundled in there. So yes, if they have a Medicare Advantage prescription plan, yes, they need to have all that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, all right.
Anyone with a Part D plan has to get it checked.
Okay, all right. Medicaid and Medicare, how do they work together? What advice would you give us to help listeners? Now, Mark, you're tapping on my stuff with Medicaid.
So Mark reaches out to me a lot with for Medicaid questions and possible beneficiaries who need Medicaid. And so this is a great question. So Medicare and Medicaid do work together. What I have learned, this is something that I've really dug into, like I was saying a few minutes ago, there are more layers I've pulled out on this one and peeled them back. There is a very long process with this. So the first thing is the beneficiary needs to go to the state of Georgia. So this is actually managed through the state, not through Medicare and Medicaid services. they go through the state and they start a process to see if they qualify for Medicaid. I will recommend, sometimes it's pretty smart to maybe get an attorney to help you go through this process, because it is long and they do want to go into a lot of your personal information. Of course, they're going to dig in, that they want to make sure this person really needs Medicaid. So once that process is done, we'll say they're approved and they're going to receive Medicaid. Medicare does have options to work with Medicaid. It reduces their insurance benefits. It reduces all the cost associated with their insurance care. So that is a beautiful thing for anyone in Medicaid, because a lot of times if a person qualifies for Medicaid, they more than likely will be challenged with Medicare insurance cost and expenses, because they're challenged with everything, right? Well, that's going to be a challenge. So fortunately, a lot of our carriers do have what we call dual special plans exclusive to the Medicare community, or for the Medicaid beneficiary. So that is something that I do work with. So once they're enrolled into Medicaid and all of that is set up with the state, then we can look at the Medicare dual plans, special needs plans for them. And they're great. I've looked at several of them. So they're well taken care of. You just kind of have to dig around and see what their needs are, and you find a plan that's great for them. So they do work together. But the process of getting the Medicaid is pretty lengthy. And like I said, sometimes someone might, especially if there's a lot of digging, they might want to actually get an attorney to help them walk through that process.
Yeah, I know. And again, I can tell you, you're talking about community Medicaid, because nursing home Medicaid is totally different. So somebody going in a nursing home has to reapply for nursing home Medicaid.
Oh, so I haven't gone down that road. Yeah.
Criteria is different. Call me. I can.
Yeah. I do know the nursing home arena is.
See, I don't know anything about community Medicaid much. You know, I know that a lot of times looking at people coming into a nursing home situation, a lot of times they're going to qualify. If they qualify in the community, they may very well qualify in a nursing home, but it's not guaranteed. Criteria is different from life insurance to everything. There's a 5-year look back for a nursing home. You can't go sign your home over to son, daughter, whoever you want to. Well, we did it last year because we knew mama was getting sick. It doesn't matter. They don't care. It's a 5-year look back on that. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, you're very limited on things. So it is we'll
have to get together and peel that onion back too.
I know. Hey, listen. And again, as soon as you think you've figured it out, they're going to change something.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Speaking of confusion, how about this?
Oh, okay.
The parts of a Medicare. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because these are very confusing. I had someone that said something about Medicare to me the other day and said, well, I'm just finding that just getting a part G, that's what they said. I think just getting a part G is all I'm going to get. And I thought, you go for that.
You got to get more than part G.
Yeah. So
there's part D and part A and part A.
Because it is very, you know, I've even said part D to people and they're like, what? And I'm like, prescriptions. But everybody doesn't know.
No, they don't.
You know, if you're not around it.
So this is the meat, if you will, of Medicare, right? This part right here, the part A, B, C, D. And to your point, then you've got element of P, the other part. There's more. Yeah. But so what I'll do because this is how I start a lot of conversations with new enrollees, right? The people who are turning 65 and they're ready to start the enrollment. There's a lot thrown at them. And I'm sure, Ann, you probably remember that when you were ready to qualify for it, you start getting everything from Social Security Administration and Medicare. And then you probably started receiving mailers in the mail from people. It's overwhelming.
Yes.
And then when you dive into it, it's like, how many parts are there and what do they mean? So the biggest part to start with is A and B. So parts A and B are first. Every enrollee needs to enroll into part A. And that one is, you know, you're 65 years old, regardless if you're working, regardless if you're going into a retiree group for your coverage, regardless if you're going to stay on a spouse's health group plan, it doesn't matter. You have to have Part A. So you go online, you start the enrollment for your Part A. Part B is really interesting because you may or may not need Part B when you turn 65.
Right. Yes.
It's there. This is a whole new puzzle piece to it, if you want my opinion. It's like, oh, well, now you've got A, this is great, but what about Part B? Well, Part B. And I should kind of define both of them as well. So let me step back for 1 second. Sorry. Part A is the hospitalization inpatient care for the beneficiary. So when you walk into a hospital, your Part A is what's going to take care of you while you're there. Part B is the doctor's office, your outpatient care. They're very different, two very different pieces. But you have to have A. I've never really read the history on that one, but that's okay. But you have to have A. But B, it can be optional when you turn 65. And some of the scenarios, and y'all, this is just a few of them. I could be here all night talking about this.
Leave them both.
But one of the scenarios is, what if you're still working at 65 years old and your company says, just because you have access to Medicare, you can stay on our group health insurance plan. Well, that is fantastic. The beneficiary should receive a letter from their HR department and their health insurance carrier, letting them know whether or not they have what we call creditable insurance, which means in the Medicare world, that insurance is as good as or better than Medicare. It has to be equal to or better than.
Yeah.
They will verify that. Once it's verified, well, that beneficiary can actually defer Part B. They don't even have to enroll it. So that means they're going to have a cost savings and not pay for that premium because they can stay on their group health plan. So that's great.
Yes, because it goes up every year.
Yeah. So Part B, and by the way, I need to talk about that. That's going up in 2025, and I forgot to talk about that change. It's going up. I know.
I've already gotten
It's going up.
Which off camera, you and I are going to talk anyway. So
that's great. It's going up too. So anyway, so there's one scenario. Another scenario is, let's say the 65-year-old has retired, and yay for them, right? That's always a celebration too. And they have a spouse who's still working, and they're like, well, maybe I can get on my spouse's group health insurance. Same kind of thing. Find out if it's credible. Also find out if they will accept you. Because here's something I've learned recently working with new beneficiaries. Group health insurance plans have the option to not accept anyone. By the way, that could be me, it could be us, it could be anyone, if they have insurance available to them in another form.
Yes.
Medicare is one of those. So group health insurance plans can actually say, well, listen, you are qualifying for Medicare, so we will no longer, provide insurance to you. You need to enroll in Medicare. So even in a spouse situation, they have to look at that. There's two questions to ask the spouse's insurance. Is it credible? If you'll accept me, will you accept me? Because I do have access to Medicare. So see, this is all the onion peeling, right?
Yeah. So now
then you can also defer Part B in that scenario.
Okay. And are you who they can come to find out if it's credible?
Well, they have to go to HR. I always tell them, talk to your HR,
Okay.
because they have all the ins and outs of the insurance business.
Right,
that
sure.
So they can defer it in that position as well.
Okay.
Or if they have no access to insurance anywhere, they're retiring, their spouse, their company won't put them on their plan, all the things, they then need to enroll into Part B.
Yeah.
So now you've got the A and the B. So you've got your hospitalization and your doctor.
Yes.
And then the bigger picture starts. Well, do you accept the supplemental plan and go the Medigap supplemental plan, or do you go Medicare Advantage? And that's where it gets really tricky too. And this is how I explain it. And just kind of in a brief explanation, because it does take a while to really dig into it. But this is where the decisions really start. So once you're enrolled into A and B, which are required for the next steps, Medicare supplemental plans, I call them pay for your medical care in advance. Because what you're doing is you're going to sign up for there's different options. So like what you were talking about a second ago, there's a plan G, a plan N, a plan F, the J's. There's different plans that have different coverage.
Yeah.
They have different premiums. Every month there's a premium for that plan. Whether you need to go to the doctor or not, you're going to pay a premium. Whether you go to do anything with your health at all, you're going to pay a premium every single month. So you're kind of paying for your medical care in advance, because when you do need it, there's no copays, there's no deductibles. You do have a Part B deductible, by the way, and some people don't really kind of get. There's a small deductible that you've got to pay in Part B, but once you pay that, there's no more to pay.
And
you're paying that monthly premium.
But it is nothing like, going from working and being on group insurance and the deductible I had then.
Right. Oh, it's very different.
Part B deductible is nothing.
Right.
I mean, when you look at it,
Right. Oh, totally agree. There is a huge savings in Medicare. When you go from working in a group health insurance plan to Medicare, there's a huge savings. I do agree.
But you're right. Those Medigap plans are very confusing.
They are. There's different
which
ones.
is one reason you and I are going to talk off camera sometime, because I've got to get to you truly for my husband and I. We really do need to look at ours. I told him the other day, I said, we've got Jennifer coming on and we're going to have some conversation because I do need some help with that, because as much as I've been around it and as much as I do understand some of it and parts of it, it's still, I had somebody tell me, a Medicare supplemental plan, insurance is insurance, and supplemental plans like that they're just that, because they have to mirror Medicare, but money is money. So don't go take the highest premium one. Well, and then when I started looking at them, it's like, but what's the coverage with that one that doesn't have, and so you really have to look into it.
And all of the
I have a
supplementals are
confession. I have a confession to make. I have been sitting here with my brain melting, almost just sitting back, just sitting here watching the two of you talk.
Go back and forth.
And it gets back to why we do this podcast. Is to get content out there, and so people can see there's no way you can figure all this out by yourself. And we're just talking about a tiny little segment of getting older.
Oh gosh,
and here's the plan.
Okay, hold on. I love that tiny segment of getting older. But you know what, Mark? Very much like what you guys do with your placement, assisted living placement. It is a tiny segment, but it lasts the rest of their life.
It does.
It is so important to get it right.
Well,
it takes a Jennifer to do it. I mean, it does. There's just too much.
The plan that I've been working on my whole life is the plan IW plan, and that's called independent wealthy, where you don't have to fool with all this.
Mark, how's that working out
for
you?
How's that going? Because
it was a big swing and a miss. I was right there at the 1 inch line, and God had other plans. And
listen, we could do like a 20-part series with Jennifer. We could have her on again tomorrow night.
I'm telling you.
Well, let me tell you. Well, you still won't know, but I'll tell you guys about Medicare Advantage though, and Part D, because just in real quick snippet of it, right? Because again, like you said, we could do 5 nights actually, and probably just talk about every single part of this, and still not finish. But so the supplemental, like we were saying a second ago, because it is complicated. So that's like this little piece that has this bigger piece. You ought to see the graph chart I have to send, or I show people. Oh, by the way, here's your premiums. Here's what's covered. Here's the letter. Pick one.
Yeah,
that's really it. It's like, and you feel like you're throwing a dart at it. And I'll be honest with that is what it feels like. It's like you said, you've got to get it right.
Yes.
All right. So.
Go ahead.
I was just going to start talking about Medicare Advantage.
No, go ahead.
So Medicare supplemental, Medigap plans, whatever the words are, I look at those very similar, if you will, to house insurance and car insurance. Very similar in that you're going to pay a monthly premium for it, whether you use it or not. But when you do need it,
it's there.
It's there. Your costs are different. with your and you don't have networks. Now that's a big deal to a lot of people too. The Medicare world can actually offer you the opportunity to not have to deal with networks at all.
I know you're going into Medicare Advantage, but before you do that, I want to one more thing to throw in there. When you're talking about Part A and B, hang on, Mark. It'll be over soon. Hang on.
He's going to go watch another podcast while we talk.
But well, I think we actually Part A and Part B, and you, as you described, you've got Part A hospital, and that's what it's going to cover. You've got your Part B that's going to cover your doctor, but you also have to stop and think about. And I can tell you, in the nursing home world, we have people all the time that are like, well, I want this really nice walker or rollator or whatever. And in a nursing home, Medicare is not going to touch it. Now, at home, they will. So when you're at home,
different.
But let's talk, because your Part B is going to pick up the durable medical equipment. It's going to pay for therapy.
Yeah,
it can pay for therapy at the nursing home with Medicaid if you're under Medicaid.
Yeah,
you know, those kind of things. But
what
yeah,
I've learned,
there's a lot
with durable medical equipment. What I have definitely learned is it's usually like an 80-20. Even with supplemental, there's a small smidgen of a co-insurance cost to the beneficiary. So it's usually an 80-20%. And that's really not that bad when you look in the grand scheme of what medical equipment can potentially cost a person. So, but yeah, there's usually there's 80-20 with it. And by the way, speaking of that, supplemental Medicare Advantage doesn't matter. One thing I had to learn also, let's talk about something everyone as we get older has to face, and that's cataract surgery. Medicare it's 80-20 period, no matter what plan you have. And I like to tell people that, because when they go to get their cataract surgery, they start asking that question, well, doesn't it cover it? And I'm like, it doesn't matter what plan you have, what letter you've got, how much premium you pay or don't pay. It's 80-20 with cataract surgery. So that's just something I love to tell people. Same thing with medical equipment. It's typically always only an 80-20. But to your point, it's different between nursing and at home.
Yeah, that is different. But you know, and we're talking to more people in the community, of course, you know, from our audience standpoint. But still, something I wanted them to realize was that's where that comes in and falls in, is under that Part B and that kind of thing, because I know you're going to talk Medicare Advantage and I'm lost. So go.
Well, why don't I tell you what, for the sake of time, really, we ought to seriously do another show.
Well, we can
and break it down to more of so people don't miss it.
Yeah.
And so why don't we get together and really do another show? Matter of fact, Kathy was on last night on insurance, so we could actually do a combo show to break it all out.
Okay, if we're going to have Kathy and Jennifer both on, then Mark and I are going to just turn it over. We're just going to say, go.
Well, I'll just turn it over to all you ladies. I'll just sit back.
You'll just sit back and manage the board. So what I love is Kathy and I have worked together. She helped me actually about 18 months ago when I started getting into the Medicare. And she just straight up looked at me and she goes, Jennifer, I know nothing about Medicare. You're going to be in my back pocket. You're going to be in my workshop. If I need you, you're going to be the tool that I pull out of the workshop. Say, here's Medicare. So, because we're very different. But no, I agree. We can totally talk again about the supplementals and the advantages, because, and I'll just give you two sentences on how Advantage kind of works. So I, like I was saying with the supplemental, that it's pay in advance, pay up front for what you need later. Advantage is the opposite of that, in that you pay as you go. So a lot of times Medicare Advantage does not have monthly premiums sometimes, or they have very small monthly premiums. They have deductibles. They've got, the maximum out of pockets, and you pay copays or small copays, or you pay, like I said, you pay as you go. And that can be very beneficial to some beneficiaries, where the other one, if they want to pay in advance for when they need it, it's there for them, and there's no copays, no networks. Advantage is different. You pay as you go. And what I appreciate about both of those scenarios is there is a plan for everyone. And every beneficiary, this is one of the keys I've learned about beneficiaries. Everyone is different. Their medical needs are different. Their health needs are different. Their financial needs are different. So when they get it all put together and we sit down, this is why it takes a while to actually, as a new enrollee, this is why they actually have 7 months to get this right. They're on their first go. It takes a really long time to actually pick through it and figure out what they need, what they want. Because what if they want to be in a network? I actually have people who want HMOs. they want that.
And
it's there for them, right? It's there for.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I love about. There are a lot of pieces. There's a lot of the letters.
Mhm.
There's a lot of we keep calling them, peeling back the layer of the onion. But what I do appreciate is that Medicare and the carriers together, CMS and the carriers, they all work on this every year. They do try to find plans that fit the health concerns, the medical needs, and their financial situation.
Yeah.
Because I think we all know, like Mark just admitted to, we don't know what it's going to look like financially when we do actually retire.
And you're so right. I mean, you're so right.
Yeah.
It is, it's very different. And, it used to be, I can remember my parents way back, even saying, oh, you're in a fixed income now.
Yeah.
You're on a fixed income, but you are. I mean, you absolutely are. And although people, I think, have probably done a little bit better about retirement and that over the last, few years, some have, some haven't. I think probably the great majority have not still in that world, of retirement. And it may not be because they didn't want to or didn't try. Maybe they just were not in a situation that afforded them to be able to do that. And so you're right. And when I say that about Advantage plans, truly, that is the nursing home administrator in me. I can't help it.
So, and I haven't had a beneficiary need that. So that's something that I would love.
But you know what? But true to what you're saying, and I have there's a lady I went to church with, and she asked me one time, tell me why you don't like Advantage? And I was like, well, I can't say I don't like Advantage. It's not that. Yeah. It's that in my world, it's different. Because that's why I think the financial piece can be so appealing to people.
Well,
with exactly what you're saying.
An Advantage does have different benefits and opportunities that a supplemental doesn't offer. Yeah. And that does appeal to some people. Some people don't want that. Some people do. But I call Advantage also the bundled package. It includes most of the time, it includes their prescription drug plan where supplemental doesn't. That's another premium they pay. Yeah. But it also includes dental, vision, and hearing. Yeah. Supplemental does not include dental, vision, and hearing. So if someone needs or wants that, that's another plan that we go and hunt for, and we pick it up and we bundle. We have to kind of piece the bundling over here together with supplemental, but with Advantage, it's done for them. And I will tell you guys, this one thing I have learned the most in the last 18 months, when someone comes out of let's say they're on a PPO plan and they're coming out of that with their work, or their job insurance, I've had them actually say to me, and they'll grab their heads and they'll just be like, listen, I'm used to the PPO pay as I go, all bundled in together plan. So I found that it's comfortable. Yeah. Comfortable, because that's what they know. And the other thing I always say, and this I say it to everyone, no matter what plan they choose, in the conversations, none of us have, and y'all know this too, doing what you do and have done for years now, we don't have that beautiful magical crystal ball that we can just turn upside down, shake the magic fairy dust, and get our answers for the coming year, coming 6 months. We don't know if the decisions that we're making with seniors or guiding them to, or that they are making, they make the decisions, but we don't know if in that moment, is it, like you said, is it the right? We got to get it right. So I wish we had crystal balls for our seniors. I really do.
Isn't that the truth? Because I was just thinking the same thing, though. Unfortunately, yes, Advantage plans have some things that people, are very attracted to. And unfortunately, you don't know. You don't know that none of us know. And you don't know what you're going to end up with. You don't know if you're going to end up going to a nursing home. And maybe it is just, a hip fracture or just a short term, and that's fine, but you don't know. I mean, that's the issue you run into, but all we can do is give them the information and let them make the decision and get that information to them.
Here's the onion. Ladies, let's peel the layers back. Mark's going to cut us off.
I know he is.
Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us again. Let's do another show. And to close it out, let me leave you guys with a little bit of a stimulating thought. A little bit of humor here. A little bit of humor. I've been thinking. Go back to when you were in your 20, 21, 22. Would you ever think we'd be sitting here together talking about Medicare and Medicaid and plan A, B, C, and D?
No.
My goodness. This getting old stuff is a trip. But seriously, again, share this podcast.
Yeah, I
like,
will.
subscribe. Yep. I mean, is there anybody that sees it?
Yeah.
Share this.
Yeah.
Because there's no way people can know what to do without the help of someone like yourself. So,
I mean, so to Ann's point a second ago, Mark, everyone could go to Medicare.gov, punch in some information, and I will tell you they will be lost. They will be so lost.
Absolutely.
So that is one of the reasons that I love what I do is to help the beneficiaries figure it out. So with all of that said, I appreciate you guys and your time. And
glad you joined us again, and
let's come back and do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will. You and I'll get together. We'll set up a time seriously to do that because I do think, and maybe while we're in this open enrollment part, and then you know what, maybe even after open enrollment, let's see how everything flushes out. But
because there's even more after December 7th. There's more that happens. Can you imagine that? Surprise, surprise.
Ma'am. If you want to get in touch with Jennifer, shoot Ann or myself an email. We will put you in touch.
Absolutely.
And again, CareQuest Solutions is here to serve families. If anybody needs in-home care, in-home health, independent living, assisted living, or memory care, that's what we do, is guide and direct people to that free of charge. And then we connect them with all the resources like Jennifer, elder law attorney, hospice, anything that you need. So we're here to serve. Thank everybody for watching and supporting the channel. And we look forward to the next show. And until next time, we'll see everybody later.